And we're joined right now by editor-in-chief of The Hill, Bob Cusack. Bob, trying to make sense of all this. I mean, it's like he said, my sign is no, my number is no, my endorsement is no. What is Trump and Ryan and the RNC chairman doing here? They're calling it a success, but is it all about bravado here? Where do they go from here?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that Paul Ryan is going to endorse Trump, but he does have some leverage in that he is holding that out. So clearly, Paul Ryan and Donald Trump are very different type of Republicans. And Paul Ryan wants to have the campaign be more about the issues than the personalities. But Donald Trump is a celebrity. So it's just a remarkable meeting. I mean, you think about Reince Priebus there. That, I mean, he was basically... There were questions about whether he was going to get fired by Donald Trump after Trump was complaining about the process and the delegate process and that kind of thing. So for one day, at least, and I think this is the first day of, certainly in the 2016 cycle, the Republican Party has been on message.
Bob, look, Paul Ryan has commented, and he just said, as we're watching him now from earlier today, that party unification will take some time. But in terms of their policies, I mean, Donald Trump has said he doesn't want to change anything with Social Security. Paul Ryan's a big budget guy. He believes that there should be entitlements, that those should stay in place. Trump is not doing that. Trump wants to prevent Muslims from coming into the country. He wants to deport 11 million people. It feels to a lot of people that Trump is holding the cards here, and either Ryan and the establishment get on board, or he's going to say, I have a mandate from the people, and I don't need you guys.
Yeah, no, Trump has a lot of leverage here, and I think this got this non-endorsement last week when Paul Ryan said, I'm not ready to endorse Trump. I think that the backlash was probably more than Ryan thought, though I think he handled himself well at the press conference today in saying, yes, we do have differences, and they do on trade, all those issues that you mentioned, though Trump seems to be softening his position on the Muslims policy. But clearly, they have different types of agenda. Remember, Paul Ryan is set to release a big conservative agenda before the convention that could be very different than Donald Trump's policy, and likely will. So how will they merge those together at the convention? There are a lot of questions that remain. I mean, on trade and taxes, they have some major policy differences, and those aren't minor things. Ryan's saying, okay, let's focus on the things where we agree on abortion, on limiting government. And then they do agree on some issues, but clearly there are probably a dozen issues that they don't agree on.
You know, Bob, for so long, Trump has said he doesn't need the party. He doesn't need them behind him. He doesn't need the bigwigs that have dominated for so long. But what he does need, and he's acknowledged, he needs the RNC's money. So his campaign has a goal now to raise about $1 billion by October. How does this all work? How does he factor in the fundraising with the relationship he needs to build with the party?
Rena, I mean, the party that is not unified is the party that usually loses. So they do have to unify. Not all Republicans are going to get on board. There's talk of a third-party type of Republican running, and Bill Kristol talking about that. So that's a real possibility, and that, of course, would help Hillary Clinton should she be the nominee, and it looks like that will be the case. But I think overall, this is the beginning of Republicans coming to grip with the Donald Trump nomination. And I think most Republicans are going to get on board, but there's going to be a lot of them. And for that reason, he needs money. He needs as much money as he can get. He's going to put some of his own money into it. But clearly, he's opening the door for a lot of party money, a lot of donor money, a lot of super PAC money. And, you know, this is going to be the most expensive race ever. And unification equals money.
All right, Bob. Today, a lot of Republicans are saying, look, unification seems possible. Mr. Trump has, as you pointed out, he's softened slightly his tone about the Muslims coming into this country. But play this out for us as we get closer and closer to November. This is not a man. Mr. Trump is not a man who apologizes. He's not somebody who, when he's on the stump trail, is going to pull back or dial back any of the things that has endeared him to his supporters. So what happens if all of these Republicans sort of get on board and they say Mr. Trump is sort of in line with where we are, and then he goes out on the campaign trail and he says some of the things that he said?
That's what
happens to the races? I'm talking about the races down the line, the House races, Senate races.
Yeah, well, the Senate's certainly up for grabs, and that's something that Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, who also met with Trump today, he's very concerned about. He wants to be the majority leader in 2017. Trump at the top of the ticket certainly jeopardizes that. Trump says, hey, I'm going to have coattails and everyone get on board. But we've seen vulnerable Republicans really try to toe the line, saying they support him. Some say they support him, but we're not endorsing him. It's a very difficult situation because, and that's what I think Paul Ryan is not giving his endorsement just yet. He kind of says, okay, I would say, stop the insults. Let's be more presidential. But Trump, he has succeeded by being kind of a raucous candidate. And but I do think if he has to tone it down to win, and I do think in the general election is very different than a primary, he will do that. But as you say, Vlad, he does not apologize. And Ben Carson has publicly said, and Ben Carson's a good friend of Donald Trump now, that Trump needs to show more humility, and that remains to be seen if he will.
Clearly two men with big influence in the Republican Party. Bob Cusack, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.